What's up, everybody?
What's up? What's good? We're here. We're only a little late, but we're here.
I took an old man nap, but it's time for a reach around up.
That'll wake you up right there.
That will.
That'll wake you up. Is that Kingpin in the background I see over there?
That is Kingpin right there.
Vincent D'Onofrio needs to put the weight back on, man.
He does, or something. Well, yeah.
We were talking about that today, about how Vincent D'Onofrio's voice seems it's almost like he's trying a little too hard for the Kingpin voice at times in this season. And I said I think it's because he's not as fat anymore. I think he lost too much weight. You know how fat people just have a sound like fat people, they're struggling to talk. Vincent D'Onofrio doesn't have that.
So. Like on talk radio back in the old days, Ryan, I used to listen to the talk radio where people would call in on the phone. You could tell like who was like black and people who were flat. You could tell the accents, and you could totally tell if somebody was fat. You know,
every once in a while you hear somebody on the phone and you're like, okay, this is what this person probably looks like. Every once in a while you're like shocked, but like you can tell like there's a fat person sound, and Vincent D'Onofrio no longer has that. So now he has to force it. So it sounds a little strange.
Yeah, well, for one, his Kingpin voice is a Batman voice, and it's measured in the Netflix a little bit, but you could tell he's trying really hard to talk like this all the time. He's probably just out of practice, you know. And he's a little too svelte. But the whole point, well, no, in the comic books, the Kingpin's still fucking giant. That's what we were talking about. Michael Clark Duncan is the silhouette of the Penguin. Literally, but
the Kingpin,
the Kingpin. I said King. I'm sorry, Kingpin. The Kingpin. Penguin. No, Kingpin. That's what I meant. And he's a lot bigger. Like the Kingpin can fight Spider-Man in the comics, and do damage.
Strong.
Yeah, he's super strong and super big and a monster. But we'll see. Hey, Reacher, we got some crazy news from Reacher. It's also news for another show. Just to give you a little hint, Ryan just told me about this right now.
I could share my screen, actually.
Yeah, I got you.
We're still waiting on some of the Nielsen stuff and things like that to come out for Reacher to see how it stacks up. But yeah, this came out today, and I was a little surprised by it. But here it is. You can add it if you want, Gary.
Yes. Sorry, I was looking at somebody saying "hail blouses," and that like. What does that mean? Is this some internet lore thing, or are you suggesting we're wearing blouses and not shirts? Because
hello to all the women in the chat, I suppose.
Yeah.
Hello.
Oh, dude, that might have been it. What's up to all the women in the chat?
Might have been it.
For you. Well, no, there's probably more because this is Reacher. You got to see some Reacher ass this episode.
We did, and a little bit of side boob and a tiny side nipple. And if I had to guess, I think you might see a little more in the next episode, is my guess, with a little trip to LA. But Reacher returns with record viewership on Prime Video through the first 19 days of season 3. I was surprised by this a little bit. So not only is Reacher season 3 tracking just slightly in terms of viewership ahead of season 2, which I wasn't sure. I didn't know if people were going to be turned off by season 2 and not tune into season 3. And of course, you hear a million people being like, Alan Richson said the same thing he's been saying for 7 years. I'm not going to watch it anymore. We've heard that too. And I get it if that's your choice. But in fact, it's slightly up from season 2, a 0.5% uptick from season 2. But more importantly, this is the most watched returning season of television ever on Prime Video. So meaning the highest ever, like non-season 1. So Rings of Power season 1 is what they claim is their highest.
Yes.
Probably, I would guess this is up there with the most watched in terms of the returning, like a season 2 or 3 or 4 of something. This is the most watched. And that means, Gary, that Reacher season 3 at a fraction of the budget, and also season 2 probably, performed better than Rings of Power. And I don't know if we ever really doubted that, but now it's just up front. They're straight about it now. that that's the case. And that is pathetically bad for Rings of Power.
My guess is Reacher season 2 cost as much as maybe an episode and a half of Rings of Power. Maybe 2 if you really want to stretch it. If they got good catering, you know.
Yeah.
It's that is Rings of Power
like 100 million or something for this season of Reacher, somewhere around there.
That's a lot. Okay, that's a lot. So
that is a lot, but I think it might be less.
It's like 60 million an episode, 67 for Rings of Power, somewhere in there. So okay, two episodes of Rings of Power, unless they spent less money moving the entire operation from New Zealand to the UK and building a specific studio and then shooting it again. I mean, they saved a lot of money on like writing, obviously. They didn't have to pay the writers a lot because they weren't very good. But it's bad. Well, Clarkson's Farm costs like next to nothing to make, relatively. Somebody brought up Clarkson's Farm. And I promise you, Clarkson's Farm's watched by more people in the UK, its home country, than this show and Wheel of Time and fucking Rings of Power combined. Like, Clarkson's Farm starts May, and I can't fucking wait. It's one of my favorite shows of all time. So, yeah, more than the Wheel of Time, more than Rings of Power. It's just out there, and the reason they continue it, it's a giant vanity project. They're never gonna fucking cancel it, and Amazon's got money to burn. So,
yeah, we'll have to see how Fallout season 2 does, because obviously that was a very good performer for them. I wasn't a huge fan of the show in general, but it was a very good performer for them. I think that's the only thing that did better than Reacher season 2 last year on Amazon when you look at the numbers.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll see how it goes.
But I have to imagine their number one show, right?
Make too.
Yeah, Fallout, yes, absolutely. Yeah. Maybe not as much as Rings of Power, but oh well. Hey, Reacher's good. I like this episode. Stuff happened. We're just gonna call him Quinn, by the way, not McNabb or whatever, because
it was so funny later in the episode when Reacher just kept saying Quinn, and he's like, "Who the fuck is Quinn?"
I know, the little midget guy.
No idea who.
But you knew at that point he was going to be dead anyway. But you knew for sure he was dead at that point when he just didn't care.
Yeah, like Duffy's desperately trying to beat it out of him, and fucking Reacher just like, all right, let me interrupt here. Fucking.
I let the woman have some fun, use him as a punching bag a little bit, but it wasn't really working on the little guy. But
it wasn't really working.
No. So we ended last episode. It was pretty good cliffhanger. They were going to the warehouse where Quinn was, because he summoned Beck, and they didn't know if they were going to die or not. And then this is the big moment: is Quinn going to remember Reacher?
Yeah, because after being shot in the head and, going to the hospital and changing his name, like he claimed at that point that he had amnesia. That's what he told the doctors. Now, they didn't know if he was just saying that to hopefully not get in trouble, or if it was truly a thing, if he had amnesia or not. But as it turns out, Reacher gets face to face with them, and he doesn't recognize him. Pretty lucky for Reacher.
Really lucky for Reacher. Or maybe he does and he's just faking it, but I don't know why he'd fake it. I just got to say that. I don't know.
Nah, he doesn't know who he is.
No, he would have probably freaked out immediately, because he does. Because of what happens later, So Reacher's got his hand on the gun. He ended the last episode. Quinn's walking up and he's got his hand behind him. Got his ready to shoot him in the face. In the meantime, we have, why do I keep forgetting the Latino cops?
Villanueva.
Because I'm racist.
Villanueva.
So the cops, the DEA, they're watching this all go down, and they see the delivery of a dress, Ryan, a dress. And immediately you think that, oh shit, that informant's still alive then.
That's what Duffy desperately wants to think, because she sees it.
Well, Reacher sees it too. As everybody's starting to gather, he sees the dress being carried too. So
like Quinn kind of comes up and talks shit to the boss, right? Who's not his boss. He's his boss, but he's Reacher's boss. He's talking shit to him. basically say, you guys keep fucking up, you keep fucking around, you're gonna fuck up my deal. Seems like the only guy that has any sense is this guy right here, Reacher, and like walks up to him and he's like, hey, good job, you've like saved this thing for us. Like puts out his hand, and Reacher's still got one hand on his fucking gun, and he sees the dress that gets walked in by one of the grunts. And that is probably when he makes the decision that Teresa might be alive, and I'm not gonna shoot Quinn right here. I'm gonna continue to play along. And he shakes Quinn's hand. And yeah, as it turns out, there's some guys I think that show up. They start honking their horns. Quinn goes out there. Russian mobsters who needed money. Apparently, that's where Quinn got the money from, was from the Russian mob, and he owes them. And that is the reason. Yeah, there they are. That is the reason they so desperately need to get this deal done, which probably, if all these problems had happened, fucking ATF agent, angel dolls supposedly turning on them, all these things, why wouldn't they just call this deal like done and be off, like to not get arrested? Well, it's because Quinn desperately needs the money because he's in debt to these Russian mobsters. Probably he had to take a big loan from after his life fell apart in those couple days that he can't remember when he got busted by Reacher and Dominique.
So this is why he's keeping Beck alive, at least for now, because he still needs his infrastructure, and he doesn't, like you said, he doesn't need anything breaking this deal. They're being surveilled. Duffy, this is Duffy looking at them through binoculars, so they see what's going on here. And the Russian guy is not happy. He's not happy that he's not getting. So he got basically his interest, right, Ryan, but not principal.
That's a rough go. Look, we've all had credit card debt. We know how it works, you know?
Yeah. He just had to pay some interest in what was his Russian saying? If you give a man a fingernail, he'll take the whole arm.
Yeah. He'll take the forearm or something.
The forearm. So he's all, you got a couple days, and basically you're and Quinn's all, you don't have to worry about it. He's all, I'm not the one who has to worry. That's my fucking Russian, like it or not. That's it. And so even Quinn, like, we keep finding a bigger boss, as time goes on. Of course, the Paulie's still around there too.
There's always a bigger fish.
There's always a bigger fish. Well, that boy, ain't that true? Ain't that true? So Reacher starts getting on Beck about, he's getting a little cheeky now at this point.
After Quinn basically shits all over Beck and congratulates Reacher, he does get a little cheeky with Beck.
Yeah. He's all, I love this. He's also, basically, you and your son are a prisoner, you got him in this huge mess, and now, like, your life is threatened. And Beck goes like, well, what do you want me to do? Well, not run guns.
Yeah, it's like, you were running guns. This guy came, took you over, blah, blah, blah. He's like, well, it wasn't my fault. Like, what did you want me to do? I don't know. Or like, what would you have done in my position?
Yep.
Not be a gun runner.
Not be a gun runner. Exactly.
It's just a super flat response.
Yeah. Reacher lays it out that he knows what he's doing. He knows what he did. He knows what he's always done. And what was it? What did he say about you might be in trouble? He's all, so are you? He's all, I don't know. He liked me. Just funny. So yeah, they have to drive back. And the meantime, they got the name off the dress. So they go to the tailor, who really liked Anne Margaret in a green sweater, and who didn't, by the way. And they're going to trace it down.
They do find out that it was made for a redhead, and specifically, like,
thank you.
He didn't get like a name of the person. Somebody came in and was like, hey, I need a dress. Here's the size. It's for my wife. That's why she didn't want to come to be fitted. It's supposed to be a big surprise, but I need something that goes really good with red hair. And as it turns out, and Reacher gets this more later, that the people that they're doing this deal with, has a thing for young girls and apparently redheads. And so that's why Teresa seems to be still alive, is because they're going to use her and trade her as part of this deal to, like, sweeten the deal. Sell her as a sex slave or whatever. So yeah, not, good news for Teresa that she's not dead, but also not looking good if they can't figure this out.
Not looking good at all. And there's Richard. Poor little Richard. Little Van Gogh is going to kill himself. Thinking about it, contemplating it. And what did he buy for his dad again? I forgot because this gets brought up.
A little cap gun,
yes.
Like an old ass, something from probably when you were a fucking kid, like that type of era that you guys ran around with cap guns.
We didn't have guns. Okay.
Immediately got smashed by the bullies. And Reacher's like, "Hey, Richard, why don't we go get some epoxy? Why don't we fix that up?" And I think is it before this? I believe Beck has a conversation with Reacher. I don't know if it's here or not, but it might be after this. Yeah, it is after this. So I'll hold it for later.
Yeah. So basically, he's like, "Hey, you got your dad that gift. You could at least stick around to give it to him, So he goes, "Okay." And then he tells Duffy, Reacher tells Duffy specifically, "I want to see you alone." So they meet in an alley and have a little talk. And
using that excuse to go into town, right? Yeah. Reacher is like, "Hey, I'm gonna go grab a cup of coffee. I'll meet you up in a couple minutes at the store," and goes down this alley to talk to Duffy. Yeah.
And they make out.
She specifically is like, I can't not fucking anymore. So yeah, she kisses him.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, I forget what the conversation was that led up to that, but yeah, they were talking about
Teresa
and everything.
Teresa. So she walks up to him and thanks him for because Reacher was gonna go and kill everybody. That's what he was gonna do. He told her, I'm gonna go in there and shoot people in the face. That's pretty much what I'm gonna do. And when he saw the dress, he held back, and she noticed that, and she's all, "I want to thank you for not killing everybody." And he's like, "Well, I'm still gonna kill him, but I felt like we didn't have to sacrifice your informant." And she's like, "Oh, well, I'm gonna make out with you now."
Yeah, so she kisses him and then immediately gets really mad at herself, but kind of takes it out. She's like, I can't be doing anything like that. You can't do that again. He's like, you're the one that kissed me. What's the big, what's the big deal?
Anything.
Yeah. But she does, and clearly she's been attracted to him the entire time. And that they've played that out from her looking at his dick in episode 3 or whatever that was. And Villanueva actually makes a comment about Duffy when they're going to find the dressmaker.
Yep.
Where she's like, "Hey, all we can do is use the clues we got." And he's like, "Oh, you're starting to sound like him too," because she feels like Villanueva feels like Duffy is embracing everything that Reacher kind of stands for, right? Mm-hmm. Not necessarily law and order in the criminal justice system, but instead doing what it takes to achieve whatever objective you have, which in your mind is the most moral one. And it doesn't matter who dies, doesn't matter how many rules you break, just get it done. And Villanueva feels he sees Duffy going into that. And now he says, "Oh, now you're talking like him." She obviously really likes Reacher and wants to be like him and wants him inside her, obviously, as well.
Yes. Yeah. She wants a Reacher around, a round of Reacher. So Villanueva shows up. He's like, "What the fuck are you doing here?" And he's all, "Nice to see you too, asshole," as you see on the screen. And then right behind him, right on the other side behind Reacher is you can see it on the smaller one there. It's never lined up. What the fuck is this shit?
Yeah, it's never Villanueva's there, and Reacher's like, "I told you to come alone." He's like, "Nice to see you too, asshole."
Yeah.
He's like, "No, there's a reason." And then Richard walks around the corner and is like, "Wait, isn't that the cop that you fucking killed?" Because remember, all the way back in the first episode is when they set this whole thing up so that Reacher could get in with the family. And Villanueva was the cop that got shot and died and that Reacher ran away from. And so he's like, that's why I didn't want you to come. Boom, the jig is up right there. And so now Richard just found that out.
Yep. So
Villanueva needed to come get donuts or some shit.
Yeah, he did. He's really got to lay off those. He's going to get diabetes. So Reacher basically has a little talk with Richard saying, okay, yep, I was infiltrating your family to find a missing informant who I think your father was keeping below the house. And he's like, I don't think my dad would do that. That was probably the other guy, Quinn. And Reacher it basically says, you're a prisoner and your dad's a prisoner. And the only way you're going to get out alive now is me. So you need to, like, can I trust you not to blow my cover? And he's all, I guess you're going to have to, unless you're going to kill me. He's all, I don't like you that much. Don't push it, Junior. So we find out pretty quick if he's going to blow the cover or not when he's back at Beck's house and he's getting some dinner.
And there's a little conversation that's had with the chef who clearly doesn't know that the maid was just murdered and found to be an ATF agent. They basically said, oh, she just left. She just left town. So now she's having to pick up some extra duties. They've got suits there ready to go for the big birthday party tonight.
Wonder what's going to happen. That's the next episode, by the way. Just spoilers. Wonder what's going to happen during the big birthday party.
Yeah. I don't know if it's supposed to happen like that night or a couple days or whatever it is, but
maybe that's the final episode.
I think that's what it'll be. I think we're taking a detour and then we're going to have that.
Oh, that's right. We are taking a detour. We'll talk about later. You're absolutely right. There is a little detour, which they do in the show. So basically he was talking, Richard lies and says, yeah, the kids who were giving him shit came back. And then Reacher intervened and Beck's like, I can take care of that stuff. You weren't there in the delivery room. You're not his dad. And he's all, I'm looking out for you. It's my job, to look out for both of you. And then Beck basically goes, well, people who look after us end up getting bullets. Just wondering when yours is.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's a little tension between Beck and Reacher, especially after the meeting with Quinn and then him playing dad to his fucking loser kid.
Next scene was like, I was like, where did we jump to? I was kind of confused for a minute, but that's basically me at life. That's
so Quinn, I believe there's a scene earlier where Quinn asks,
yes,
essentially like, hey, obviously somebody's looking into us. So do a deep dive with all your contacts and figure out who's been looking into us, like run the name, like whatever. And we see the guy from the first episode that Reacher called, the guy who works at the 110th military police guy that Reacher didn't know, but he used him to do a favor and run the plates on the car that he saw Quinn get in before we see DEA agents Duffy and Villanueva show up. And all of a sudden there's a knock at this guy's door and it's an old man saying his water pressure's not good. And then he opens the door and he's like, I'm sorry, I had no choice. And there's guys with guns.
Yep. They pop the old guy.
Immediately shoot him in the fucking head.
Yep.
And he just lays there with his eyes open and a hole in his head the rest of the scene.
Yep.
Yeah, there I can see him at the bottom of that one.
Yeah. It never lines up to the one you see the picture and I'll click on it and then it just never fucking lines up, but whatever. So that's where that scene, then we're back to Neely. Neely's going to get some coffee and a couple guys come in with guns and she sees the reflection in the window. So they showed a specific shot of her gun hanging on her chair at her desk. She's across the office getting some coffee. She sees the guys sneak in and she has to be quick on her feet on this one. And I think, Ryan, you pointed out that this could have been like full on girl boss scene.
I was when I saw this coming with Neely and everything, I was wondering how they would play it out. I liked what they had her do to get out of the situation. So she's stuck there in the break room all the way across the office. These guys come in. And then she's just kind of like watching. She sees guys with guns in her office looking around because she's not there. Her gun is still sitting in her chair. And the fucking microwave goes off from the water that she was heating up.
Yep.
And it's like, fuck. Now they start heading over there. I think she like opens the fridge
She
as
opens the fridge
well.
and the microwave door.
Yeah, she opens the fridge and the microwave door while she kind of runs around it's hard to tell without like seeing the setup, but then kind of runs around the other exit to that room and, runs and starts, kind of crawling under desks to get away, pops up on a computer, logs into a computer. As those guys are circling and stalking her, she sends, like, she makes something print over at the copier to distract them. She's able to make a beeline eventually, jump over her desk, like kind of grab her gun and finally take those guys out. I was really wondering if it was just going to be like she's like goes fucking all martial arts on him, unarmed versus armed and all shit. But
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
eventually
Just
gets
takes
her
him
hands
out
on
with
the
like
gun.
a
Yeah.
stapler or something.
Yeah, I was wondering if it was going to be a Daisy Ridley fucking cleaner type of thing.
It's
But no,
like
she's able to get her gun, take him out. One guy pretty much dead right away. And as she's like kind of, walking down the next guy from where he ran, turns out he got shot too. And he's just laying there, slumped up against the fridge, barely alive. And Neely decides to take her time.
She does. She does. Yeah, I was expecting like some Equalizer with the scarf. So have you seen that? That is fucking so funny. Queen Latifah's Equalizer, like takes on a dude with a scarf, beats him. Queen Latifah probably can't even fucking sit up quick. All right, so this is the other guy. So this is the guy, and Neely and this guy ran the plates of Quinn. So that's the only connection. They're in Chicago right now, so he's tied up. Who asked you to track the license plate? He's not giving it up, and he works for that division, that the 110th. So they're not pussies, and he's not going to give it up. And basically, Quinn says, "Well, I know these military guys, so just what does it? Cut his throat from tongue to
cut him from tongue to taint."
Yeah,
that's what he said. He's like, "We got guns, we can just shoot him." He's like, "Nah, it'll be more fun this way." Obviously, Quinn's a guy who likes this. He fucking cut off Richard's ear. We saw what he did to Dominique. Like, he's a cruel, like, fucking disturbed dude. He really is.
He is. And we find
cut
that
him
out
from
later.
Tongue to taint.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then Neely, who managed to not be caught. I mean, only reason she wasn't probably just shot in the head is because she happened to be getting coffee at the time, right?
Yep.
And she just pulls out cereal and starts making a bowl of cereal as this guy's begging for a fucking ambulance to be called, begging for a doctor, all this stuff. She doesn't give two fucks. Makes him
yes.
Makes him move out of the way. And he's like, can barely fucking move so she can get some milk to pour in her cereal. And she sits there at the table and is finally like, "Hey, look, I'll make you a deal. You tell me who sent you, and I'll call an ambulance." He eventually is like, I forget the name that he mentioned, but it's a name that he said, "Oh, we were contacted by this person. What we asked to do, I don't know, somebody who was checking into Angel something and Polly, somebody was running their, like, she was the one who looked into Angel Doll and Polly and Duke. Polly, not Polly. Polly
Yeah.
and Duke. So that's how they tracked Neely down, that Neely was involved in this. And he's finally bitching about it. She's like, "Fine, if you're gonna make such a big deal, call an ambulance." She calls, "Hey, got a GSW, 16th floor of whatever fucking building." And he's like, "Thank you." And she's like, "Well, ambulance will be here in 5. You'll be dead in 1." And fucking walks away and he dies.
Yep.
He's fucking dead.
Yeah, he's dead. And Reacher calls the 110th, asks about the dude who got caught, the other guy who got caught, can't remember his name. And he was supposed to cover for this woman half an hour ago. So he tells her to send three guys. Are they MP? Well, as 110th MPs?
Yeah, Reacher is an
MPs.
MP.
Yeah.
I mean, look, I never had to deal with any military police. I don't even know anybody that was really an MP or anything. I don't know what their fucking shit is like. 110th seems crazy wild to me based on what we see from Reacher. Maybe it is somehow like that.
Maybe.
But Yeah, so Neely immediately calls Reacher and tells him what happens, right? That these guys came here because I ran these plates. They said this guy's name did it. And so Reacher connects the dots and realizes, fuck, this dude is probably in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
And says, hey, you better go there and you better go there armed because the reason he's late for his shift is because he might be fucking dead. So we don't know if he's going to, actually make it or not.
If he's going to get cut from tongue to taint. So how does the military feel about MPs? Is it like how cops feel about internal affairs? Or are they just like, they're just other military and we don't fuck with them?
I mean, there are cops, right? So it's how do we feel about cops? You know, it's a tough question sometimes.
Don't really want to interact with any ever.
Yeah, exactly. You want them to let you through fucking the gate as fast as possible. You desperately hope that you didn't drink too much when you're driving back on base so they don't smell it. Like these are the things those are my interactions with military police have been very limited, to be honest with you, other than them fucking checking me at gates and stuff like that. I really never interacted with them because I never did anything wrong.
There you go. That's the best way to go.
It typically is the best way to go. At least I never did anything wrong that would require military police to get involved in any way. We'll put it at that. But yes, in terms of like what the 1/10 seems like to me and what they've like shown it as in this show, it seems a little much based on most MPs that I've run into, but I don't know.
There you go.
Nobody fucking likes interacting with MPs because no one likes interacting with the cops. Same shit.
Yeah. Same. Yeah. I mean, I don't do anything wrong. I still don't want, I just don't ever want to interact with cops. No offense if you're a cop out there, but X-Ray Girl was pretty good in the scene. She did a good job. She's getting a lot of work these days. Afraid I'm going to lose her to Hollywood someday. Beck comes back and is it Quinn? Yeah. Quinn goes to Beck's house pissed because he immediately knows that somebody was running their plates, some military detachment. He knows it's 110th was running their plates in Chicago, and he's like, "What the hell's going on?" And Beck's all, "Shit, Reacher's 110th." Just right there. So it tells Paulie to go to his room and blow his fucking head off. Reacher is escaped. He has. Oh, that's what the hell. He's
gone.
Reacher's gone. Paulie's after him.
The door like it's fucking nothing, but Reacher's already gone. He ran to the garage. He grabs the key to the plow, which is a big truck that's got a big fucking plow in front, and shoots out the tires of all the other vehicles that are parked in the garage, and fucking takes off. Damn near runs over Paulie with a plow. He's getting bullets riddling the car as he's running away. Even the big fucking gun that's right by the gate fires as he fucking drives out, crashes out the gate. Quinn is screaming, I want him dead. Like Quinn is screaming like a fucking madman at this point. And Reacher is barely able to get away. But the car's pretty shot to hell. It doesn't make it too far. And he calls Duffy because he needs a ride. He's in the woods, a mile down the road or whatever the fuck it is. And although he shot out all the wheels of the tires, apparently there's some ATVs over on that big land because he starts hearing pursuers pretty quickly.
Yeah.
So
this is actually a good scene. I like this scene.
It's a fucking awesome scene. Very Rambo.
It's very Rambo. But yeah, he pops this guy in the head. He's got his gun. He's got only a certain amount of rounds, but I think they split up, or not everybody's after him. I don't think Paulie's on one of these ATVs. So they send all the red shirts out, and they get fucking red shirted by Reacher.
Yeah, so they get in a little like standoff where Reacher's. It's actually really funny because like Richardson is just such a big human being.
Yeah.
Like, even him trying to hide behind a massive tree looks relatively funny.
It looks silly.
But they get in a little shootout. He's ducking behind he's ducking behind a trunk and stuff. They kind of stop firing. He fires off a couple rounds and shoots out their lights, skirts away, gets down by a river, grabs some mud. And we've seen him do this before in like season 1 and everything, like when he's going to go on the prowl at night, fucking mud all over his face and arms to make him as dark in the night in the forest as possible. and he starts taking motherfuckers out. Comes up behind some guy, grabs him by the fucking head, snaps his neck. Another guy, he walks up, steals his knife, comes up behind him, just right in the side of the fucking neck. He's dead. And then the last guy he like decides to get overly creative with and wraps a winch that was on one of the ATVs around his neck and then turns on the winch and he just like strangles him to death.
Yeah,
it was a good scene.
It was a good scene. I wasn't sure what happened to him at first. I'm like, did he stab him? And then you see him getting dragged, right?
Yeah.
And that was good. And I thought they were gonna like cut his head off, but they didn't cut his head. He just
I was desperately hoping that too. It would have been so like unnecessary, I guess, but I was hoping that would happen.
Yeah. And he's straight up like he's covered in mud, like you said, and he's like, so he has to go. He goes into town and he finds a little laundromat, offers him to close early, which was funny as hell. He's
just two like old Asian people running a fucking laundromat. He's like, he just walks in. What are they thinking? This massive dude covered in mud, and he just holds up a water bill. He's like, think about closing early tonight. And they fucking turn off the lights, at least outside. And yeah, Reacher's standing there doing his laundry as they bring him coffee. And he's like, this is the best cup of coffee I've had in weeks. Last one was from a cat's asshole. Bringing back that stupid coffee from earlier.
And the Asian woman just checks him out and laughs, whatever. So
Paulie was tracking him though. Like
yes.
Paulie walks into the town and like looks around, but really, the light to the laundromat is now out. All of this stuff doesn't really see any activity. And I think he calls it quits and heads back.
And then Quinn sits down with Beck. He's pissed off. So he basically calls over, tells Paulie to get bring Richard in to play a little game of Russian roulette because he's a sadistic bastard. And Beck, of course, is begging, like, take me, don't take my kid, whatever. And they make him play Russian roulette. Now, the kid was contemplating suicide, a little earlier in the episode, but apparently he wants to live. He puts one bullet in the chamber, then he makes him shoot 3 times. He got lucky.
Well, and Richard at one point takes the gun and just points it right at
that's
Quinn,
right.
who he thinks is McCabe, right? Just points it right at Quinn. And Quinn's like, fucking go ahead. You got a 20% chance of killing me, but doesn't matter if it does or if it doesn't. Paulie's going to kill your dad and then you're dead. So go for it. Do it. And he doesn't do it. He's like, you're trapped. You're stuck. You have no power. The only thing you can do is what I tell you to do. That's the only way you and your dad make it out of this. And you got a 20% chance to die. And so he makes him pull the trigger because I think it's a 5-chamber revolver. And he makes him pull it 3 times. And Beck's like screaming, I'll do whatever you want. I'll do whatever you want. I'll do whatever you want. Now, what did Quinn say? He's like, you're lucky I don't have Paulie bend him over the counter and split him open prison style.
Yeah.
And so in the book, Paulie is doing that to Richard and to Beck's wife. Paulie is doing that. He's going in their rooms at night and shit. And it adds like a whole different level of kind of terrifying to Paulie, I suppose. But also since he's so fucking full of like steroids or whatever else, sometimes he can't get his dick hard and it really pisses him off. So he beats people up because of it. Paulie, that's Paulie in the book. I don't know if they're going to reveal anything extra about that, but since that finally came up and they talked about it, I figured I'd bring it up.
Yep. Oh shit. That's dark. So, after shooting 3 times, Beck's like, I'll do anything. And Quinn's all, I want an even set. I want a matching set. So, he wants an ear, but whose ear? Does he want Richard's ear? Does he want Beck's ear?
They immediately panned Richard's fucked up ear.
Yep.
So
he's going to take another ear. I've considered themselves lucky at this point. So Villanueva is getting a call from his wife. His wife's always worried. So like, man, they're setting this poor like guy up. Like I'm 5 days from retirement, you know,
too old for this shit.
Too old for this shit. So they're tracing the phone. What is it? The phone company contact to get back to you about the number on the dress shop. And they did. And I forgot what she says here. She's pissed. Duffy's pissed, obviously, that like Teresa didn't make it. They traced it back to a boat. I mean, they had a certain area, and then they traced it back to a certain area and Reacher
back to a harbor.
Yeah.
They're like, shit, that's going to be full of a bunch of random buildings that have like nothing attached to it. That's going to be impossible. And Reacher remembers what that the dude who wouldn't shut up told him about his boat. And so that's what kind of registers in his mind. And so they go there, they go to the boat, and they happen to find some wetsuits that are just kind of hanging out to dry on another boat in the marina. That one, the one that they suspect, it's sitting there parked out in the middle of shouldn't say parked, it's anchored out. Kind of the middle of the harbor, away from everything, tough to get to. So they figure that's got to be it. So they put on some wetsuits. Reacher's is way too fucking small for him, which they joke about, because it'd be hard pressed to find a wetsuit just laying around that would actually fit him. And they see clearly that Teresa was at one point in time being held there.
Yep, drugged up, tied up, and then she's going to be sold. And then the little midget guy goes there, and he immediately sees that the deck of the boat is wet. So there's somebody here, pulls out his gun, takes it out, goes down, and
Duffy's able to get the drop on him by basically hiding behind the wall when he comes down. So knocks the gun out of his hand, and hits the lantern that was sitting there, knocks it over, fire starts. She starts punching on the little dude, not really doing too much damage, just kind of fucking punching him, screaming, "Where's Teresa?" as Reacher is just very nonchalantly throwing literal gas on the fire.
Yep.
Any fuel source he can, he's kind of knocking it over and pushing it over to get the fire to continue growing. And finally, when Duffy's kind of been hitting on this guy and nothing happens, Reacher has a big, I don't know if it's really a fucking axe or whatever the fuck it was, but a sharp,
some kind of hook. Yeah, a sharp
object. You're right.
It's a hook on the end of a stick.
Yeah.
It's like she's beating the shit out of him. He's like, "Fuck you, bitch," and that's when he that's what Spikes.
Yeah.
Spikes
so
is
like, all right, I've let the woman have her fun. Takes the hook, smashes it down right through his foot, and like to the point where he's stuck to the deck.
Yes.
And can't even move.
And he can't even pull the thing up because Reacher slammed it down as hard as he could.
Move. The fire's spreading. He's like, we got to get off this thing before it hits a fuel tank. This thing's going to explode and kill all of us. He's like, well, talk fast then. And he spills all the beans that he knows. Teresa was being held here, but after what happened, after them finding out about you, after all this shit, they've moved the spot of the deal. Quinn's super paranoid. Well, he says McCabe's super paranoid. Nobody knows what's going on with the deal. Nobody knows where Teresa's at. He's taking care of her personally, all this stuff. And Reacher's like, oh, if Quinn knows this, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, who the fuck is Quinn?
Yeah, I know. That's when you know he's dead, because he's using is it gaff? Is that what it was?
Sure, probably.
Sure. Dude, you used to be a sailor. Come on. Don't you know everything about everything that's ever on a boat?
I went through a couple fucking things at boot camp about handling line and shit like that for actually things I don't fucking know. I was operating a reactor. I wasn't using hooks.
Why not? I think that'd be perfectly normal to work on a reactor. So the boat blows up and he dies. And then I gotta be careful with that scene. Yeah, so we don't see any Reacher ass. Not really.
Yeah, there is Reacher ass and there is side boob and slight side nipple from Duffy in this. And Reacher's basically joking like about her looking. And
Yeah.
he's like, you're looking an awful lot for somebody who says they don't want to get involved with somebody they're working with, which is what she had said earlier after she was like mad at herself for kissing Reacher. She's like, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? He's like, that's a lot of side glances, just saying. Like continuing to give her shit about that. Yeah, and this is where is this where they basically our fucking leads are dead, we don't have anything. And Richard's like, we got one inside man, he just doesn't know it yet. Implying to Richard maybe. But then he says, is this where he says we got to take a trip to or get your sunscreen, Duffy? We're going to LA.
We're going to LA. So I have no idea who they're talking about, but that's where the episode ends, right? No, I mean, you probably have a clue because you read the book. Maybe.
I'm gonna be real. I don't. They don't take any trips to LA.
So this must be a returning character from a previous season, maybe.
Well, the thing is, Neely's in Chicago.
Yeah,
that doesn't make sense. I think she will probably show up at the end for the final battle thing. So season 2, the book they adapted for season 2 is supposed to take place in LA, but they did everything probably because they wanted to shoot in Canada at a certain time. They changed everything to New York. It was supposed to be LA and Las Vegas. They changed it to New York and Atlantic City for season 2. So I don't know what's out in LA. I don't really fucking know.
It feels like a side trip to a familiar character. That's what I'm going to call. I could be completely wrong. We could be introduced to a brand new character, but I don't know who that character would be. I don't think. Well, would they bring somebody back from season 2? I think they. I don't know.
I'm not sure.
I'm not sure either.
Now, well, hold on. Wasn't he doing? He was doing a gun deal with like a drug dealer from the West Coast, right?
Yep.
Who came all the way out to there to do that deal. Maybe that's who they're talking about. Maybe it's going to be whoever they might be doing the big deal. Like maybe Reacher thinks like that could be a possibility. That's the one thing that might happen. Somebody said, I think the season's deviated a fair bit. Honestly, there's been some stuff here or there. It's been a pretty solid adaptation so far. A lot of things directly from it, a lot of events kind of directly from it. No LA trip in this one for sure.
Yeah.
But one of the main differences is Beck's wife is still alive and she is there. And actually she thinks that Reacher is working with the government. And she's even like offering to help him out, but Reacher thinks it's obviously just like a trap or whatever. He continues to push it off, says, talk like that, you'll get me in trouble, even I'm not who you think I am, blah, blah, blah. And she kind of backs off that a little bit when the other ATF agent gets found, when the maid gets found as the ATF, as the mole, she kind of backs off that a little bit. But yeah, she's not present in this. They kind of transfer a little bit of her role, I guess, onto Richard. I'm
curious about, we haven't seen Teresa yet. Don't say anything because you read the book. I think it's really suspicious that we haven't even seen her yet. Now, maybe she plays a bit part. She was just a hostage the whole time. Maybe. I don't know. Feels like there's 2 episodes left, right? Is this 8 or 9 episodes? I
think it's an 8 episode season.
So we have the penultimate episode. Next week. And it'll be over. That sucks.
I think that Reacher and Duffy are gonna fuck next week.
God, they have to, right? And hopefully we get some full boob. Because the chat, the injustice of not getting equality of ass in this is outrageous.
That's true. We've now seen 2 Reacher asses and only 1 side boob, and a slight hint of ass from Duffy when she was changing. But it's like as they panned over, she pulled up. So you like barely see her crack before she pulls up,
Yeah, weak. Maybe they go to a strip joint in LA and that kind of evens everything out,
I don't need a strip joint. Just give me a good old Reacher fuck scene with the girl who's in the story.
Does anybody need a strip joint? I mean, strippers.
Strippers do.
Yeah.
For sure. And the owners.
And the owners.
Have you ever seen Ozark?
I have not seen Ozark. I've seen the first couple episodes, and it's dark.
I really liked Ozark.
I might give it a shot some more.
It's funny to see Jason Bateman do like all the comedy shit and then do stuff like that. I thought he's really
good. It's weird. The trajectory of his career was, he was a teenage star with his sister Justine, and then disappeared for a while. Popped up in some comedies, but now that he's hitting his 50s, he's like showing he's even in that damn fucking Die Hard airport movie.
I loved him in that movie.
Yeah, he was great in that. He was such a good villain.
Carry On.
Yeah, Carry On. That's right. Carry On.
He was great as like just kind of swarmy, smart ass, fucking but diabolical, cold-blooded villain. It was good.
The best part of that is you saw no like infrastructure around that villain. It was just me. You had like you knew nothing about him. Like
it was zero. A very 90s movie.
Yeah, loved that. It
really was. Like
it's what it was. That was a 90s movie, and I'm okay with it. I enjoyed watching it. It wasn't great.
It was kind of okay because he it's not like he really had a purpose behind it. He was just a hired gun for it.
Yep.
He was just doing a job. So it's not like you really need to know his entire life story to know why like he was desperately wanting to fucking blow up this plane. It's just a job.
Oh, there could totally be a sequel now because we need to find out like who sent the goop. Right. So but I'm liking this season more so far than I liked season 2. I will say that. Not as good as season 1, but season 1 was a fucking banger, man. That was good shit. And it all depends on these side characters, right? But I'm fine with Duffy. I think Duffy's all right. She's kind of funny.
The people from Boston apparently hate her because of her accent. She sounds just like every annoying Boston fuck I've ever met in my life. So it's like spot on to me. It's
hate to break this to you, chowderheads.
How I feel about all Boston accents too. So.
Hate to break it to you. All sound like that. We don't notice the difference.
Yeah, we don't notice the difference. We think you all sound obnoxious.
Yeah.
So.
It's all good.
I've seen that consistently. I have no idea what she actually sounds like in real life.
No, she's probably British. That would be my guess. I don't know, but like half the time they're British. But
Tom Brady reference from earlier. But, yeah. Fucking traitor.
Traitor. So Tom Brady. Oh, they'll like him again. They like Favre again in Green Bay.
They already like Brady.
Yeah. Green Bay was fucking pissed at Favre. Play for the fucking Vikings. They forgave him.
Someone says she is British. Yeah.
There you go. There you go.
Sounds normal to me.
It sounds fine. She probably didn't know who fucking Tom Brady is at all. But yeah, I think I'm looking forward to the final 2. There's a show coming up, Ryan, that I am completely interested in. It could suck, but Guy Ritchie is doing a show called Mobland with Pierce Brosnan and Tom Hardy.
Wow.
So yeah. So that's coming out in like a couple weeks. It's on Paramount Plus. So that I've got my that circled on my calendar because fucking Gentleman ruled. So yeah, Mobland. It's called Mobland. And Helen Mirren's in it too. She's in fucking everything now, which is great. It's nice to see the old lady get work. 1923. Haven't gone back since the second episode. I will eventually, but there's a scene in that second episode. I was just like, get the fuck out of here. It was did I tell you about it? It was that female marshal that and she sits down and calls like the dude is
say that who wasn't a marshal in real life
or something. A bigot, and the guy is a fucking total racist. He wants to wipe out all the Indians and everything. But like
in 1923, she called someone a bigot.
A bigot. And I just went, get the fuck out of here. And the rest of the show was fine, but like that ripped me out. And for one, there was no fucking female marshal, but she was a deputy marshal. So I looked it up. I'm like, is this right? Could be real. What do I know? So I looked up. I'm like, no, it's not fucking real. at all. Sheridan does that once in a while. It feels like he has to, I got to drop one of these things in so I'm not whatever. But yeah, fucking rip me right out. But I'll watch that third episode. Shipmates, have a great night. More tariffs. There's a lot of tariffs going around right now.
More tariffs, yeah.
More tariffs. Well, hopefully the Donald will get the leverage he needs.
Amazon, every time I open Amazon Prime, The Apprentice is fucking recommended to me.
Same here. I watched the first episode. Loved it. I used to watch that show. I watched Celebrity Apprentice.
I was never into it that much. It was fine. It was like funny
fine
clips and everything, but I never got into it. Like,
yeah, it's not like I sought it out every night, but if it was on, I sat down and watched it. But that was pretty much all my TV viewing back then. So I was reading comics like every night for hours. It was a hard life, guys. You should really feel sorry for me. Reacher around for 17 months. Love you, brother. Hail Ryan. Love you too, Smoo. Hope you're doing good, brother. Hope all is well in your world. And thanks to the Nerdrotics for hanging out. Thanks for we will be back next week around the same time, hopefully 7 this time, so I don't take my old man nap in the middle of the day, which was wonderful, by the way. Wonderful. I'm getting in shape for Vegas, dude. I'm taking my I'm mixing in like gym, 5-mile walks in the morning. I mean, I'm by myself, so I have like all this fucking time on my hands. So I gotta fill it with something. So I'm just going on urban hikes and shit. It's kind of sad, but I like it.
Gary's living the bachelor life for a while and has no idea what to do.
Dude, respect to the bachelors out there. Okay, respect. I haven't been a bachelor for oh God. Early 20s? Because I had that first marriage that I don't bring up very much, and that was 7 years. That first marriage lasted 7 years, and this one's 21. So yeah, it's been a minute. Buy a kettlebell, dude. Well, I have a gym that I go to. I have a gym, so I use everything they have there. It's all part of it. And you know what? I could do a home gym. I did a home gym, but I recommend going to a gym. I think that's part of the ritual. I think it's really good for you to like go outside and go to a place. It makes it like something you have to do.
Yeah, it's part of the habit, and it's so easy. One, I mean, gym memberships can be expensive depending on where you go, but building a proper home gym with all the stuff that you want in there can be pricey. And there is just something about it being at your home that makes it very easy to push it away or whatever, or like, oh, stop it early to go look at this, stuff like that. Whereas you go there, you're there, and you're committed to being there.
No home distractions.
Yeah.
Well,
I hate it. I hate having to waste fucking 10 minutes to go there and 10 minutes. I hate that part of it, but I do think it's better to keep you in routine and actually get the most out of the time you're working out.
Yep. Well, it's like having the discipline to work from home, dude. It could be easy to. I can't imagine doing it with like a job like Tesla, because I would find a lot of ways to blow shit off. I think it's a little better when it's like something I'm truly into, but holy shit. So respect to people who have good work ethics. All right. Thanks. Ryan, what do you got coming up, man?
I don't know. I got a show called Friday Night Tights tomorrow. So I'll be there. Geeks and Gamers Daily. I have a stream on. I stream on my main channel Sundays and Wednesdays. So I'll do live streams then in the evenings. Other than that, normal shit.
Cool. Yeah, Friday Night Tights. We got Little Platoon and Rags. Rags is making his triumphant return. It's been too long. Love Rags. I was just streaming with him on a super secret project yesterday, and it was lots of fun.
Super secret.
Super secret. Well, okay. I mean, Mahler might get bad. Mahler's doing this comedy arc thing where we watch movies and we basically do commentary. It's mostly us laughing our fucking asses off for 2 hours.
You just EFAP movies for comedy.
We just EFAP. Yeah. So it's basically, he's already publicly stated, like we did Austin Powers 1 and 2. So that'll, and these are coming out years from now. They have to be edited and everything. So we're doing other comedies that I'm sure every single one of you like. And we watched, and it's funny because they're young. So we're watching older ones, and we watched a classic one that the kids hadn't seen before. And it was really cool watching them like fucking gut laugh at all the shit that we were laughing at 40 years ago, which is great. So it was fun. Yeah, it was, nice. It was Mystery Science Theater, except we're not like really ripping on them at all. We're just fucking marveling at how beautifully racist comedies used to be back in the day, dude. It's so good.
Unapologetically racial-based jokes, right? Not racist. Yep. Racial-based jokes, which are funny regardless of whoever you're talking about.
Yep. Oh, dude, there's some good ones in yeah. So we're definitely doing you guessed it. There's a dodgeball one. Mahler's gonna get mad, but there's a dodgeball one coming for sure. For sure. But that's not what we did yesterday. Pace yourself, Gary. You can only touch yourself so much, dude. Right?
Sometimes my watch detects that as working out, to be honest with you.
It actually does. It counts as steps.
Yeah, it'll be like, hey, you ran for 13 minutes. Like, yeah, it does sometimes.
Oh, no. Oh, that's hilarious. That's fucking hilarious.
I'm a lefty. So
there you go. Well, you got to get ambidextrous. You got to, figure it out. You can see that way you can,
I'm not into change, Gary. I'm not big into change.
Okay. All right. Chat. Thank you very much. These are always fun to do. We'll be back next week. See you on Friday Night Tights tomorrow. Ciao. Thanks, mods.